Thank you. Thank you, Blair. I just imagine all your 10th graders doing this. I might be projecting what... All right. My Hero by Clifton. I feel like, there's like a mood. There's a mood to this one. I don't know if this is possible, Joe, but is it possible to be like mostly backlit? I want to say I'm normally not this vain, but... It was April of 2013. I was asked by a friend to watch her house and her pug while she was in Spain or something. I forget where she was. For all I know, it could have been rehab. In any case, it was amazing. A week of no roommates, fancy Trader Joe's food, and internet. See, at this point in my life, I'd been internet free for at least a year. I was eager to jump back into Netflix and explore the websites that are blocked at the library. There were 2 rules for the house: no drugs and no guests. This was 420 weekend, so one of those rules had already been broken. Anyway, I just killed a bag of fried edamame poppers or whatever bullshit Trader Joe's throws at you, and I decided to watch some Arrested Development. Suddenly I heard 2 people yelling outside, a neighboring apartment across the driveway, and something metallic being thrown. I looked outside to see a door slam and an older man get into an overcompensating car and speed off. I shrugged. I went back to Netflix. Then I heard another scream, multiple screams. I looked outside again. I saw smoke billowing out of the apartment, lots of it. I ran outside and I saw neighbors running around like chickens with their heads cut off. They had fire extinguishers in their hands, but no one knew how to use them. Suddenly, I was no longer Connor Clifton. Something came over me, something heroic. I sprung into action. I had never used a fire extinguisher before, but in that moment, I was a veteran firefighter. I grabbed an extinguisher, pulled the safety pin out, and ran into the apartment. Through all the smoke and dust, I saw a raging inferno whipping out of a closet. I pointed and sprayed. I pointed the nozzle and sprayed away. It's complicated. I couldn't see anything but gray-black smoke and flashes of orange. I covered my mouth and squinted. Eventually, my extinguisher ran out of whatever extinguishers contain, sand or I don't fucking know. So I ran back outside and I tried to catch my breath. The outside of the apartment was just as chaotic as the inside. One of the owners of the apartment kept screaming, "My clothes! My clothes!" and tried to run inside. I grabbed him. I pushed him on the ground. I said, "You're alive. That's what counts." I yelled at a neighbor to grab him and make sure he didn't do anything stupid. One of the neighbors grabbed him and pulled him away and asked me, "Should we close the door to keep the fire inside?" "No, you idiot. That's how you get a backdraft." She clearly hadn't seen Kirk Cameron's 2008 classic Christian drama Fireproof and therefore hated God. I tried to go back into the apartment, but I didn't last 2 seconds before my eyes were watering, so I ran out. I needed to go back inside to keep spraying the flames, but I couldn't do it. Just then, a handsome white knight named Kyle arrived with his own extinguisher and ran in to finish the job. He may have been taller, handsomer, and an actual fucking brain surgeon, but there was no way he was in there as long as me, so who's the real hero? The answer is the fire department. They showed up maybe a minute after Kyle ran in and put the fire out in an effective manner. They told us that while we didn't stop the fire, we contained and kept it from spreading to the neighboring domiciles. I kind of wish they had made me a deputy firefighter. I walked across the street to get some fresh air and have a cigarette. I basically... That's the only part I believe of the story is... I walked across the street so I could get some fresh air, have a cigarette. I basically wanted to look like a badass, but my lungs hadn't recovered, so I had maybe a drag or two before I started seeing stars from coughing. Eventually, the firefighters were done, so I went back inside the house I was watching and played with the pug. A few hours pass. I went outside to check on the neighbor who was screaming for his clothes, and I got a crazy story. The yelling I heard right before the fire was between the screaming neighbor Juan and the actual tenant of the apartment, Old Guy. It seems Old Guy paid for Juan to move to the United States from Mexico, and they were lovers. Juan was younger than me. They had an argument, and Old Guy must have set the closet on fire before he sped off in a rage. The police had a warrant out for his arrest. Juan asked me for a cigarette, so I gave him one. Then he told me he had a personal question. Excuse me, I have a personal question. Yes? Are you gay? I get asked this a lot, mostly by my dad. I don't... It's not funny, guys. That happens to all sorts of people. I was going to try to do this in a list because anyway, I get asked this a lot, mostly by my dad. I don't know why, but it felt really rude. But then he references it. So here we go. Okay, so I get asked this a lot, mostly by my dad. I don't know why, but I assume it has something to do with bigoted, archaic, homophobic stereotypes. It's 2015, y'all. Some straight guys have lists or are into unicorns. There's nothing wrong with it. A unicorn is the fiercest of all animals in the kingdom. The majestic beauty and power of a horse combined with the hardcore brutality of a fucking horn that can gore their enemies. Yeah, I wouldn't fuck with a unicorn either. I told him no, I was in fact straight. Oh, I'm sorry, it's just that you live in the Montrose. Wow. I was about to give him a talking to on making assumptions about people when he said, it's just, I don't have anywhere to go tonight. And he started to cry. That's when I realized I had to get the fuck out of there. Juan was looking for a place to sleep tonight, and I wasn't in the mood to help him. After all, one of the rules of the house was no guests. So I said, man, that sucks. Good luck. Turned around and began to walk back to my friend's apartment to forget about problems that weren't mine. Then a butterfly flew by, and I got so scared I shat my pants. There's an epilogue. In case you were wondering whatever happened to Old Guy, here's the scoop. First off, Juan wasn't telling the truth. He was spinning a yarn to the coppers to throw them off this trail, see? Fuck that up. I can do it. I got this. He was spinning a yarn to the coppers to throw him off his trail, see? Two neighbors had found the lighter in the backyard, and they were careful not to touch it with their hands. The lighter was given to the Flatfoots, and Juan's prints were all over it. Turns out, after the fight between Juan and Old Guy, Juan decided to burn a few of Old Guy's shirts, and it got out of hand. I guess the moral of the story is, never let anyone love you.